I meant that jokingly.
Okay.
We are live on this.
Computers on. Record videos. Yeah, I took these and then I went through, because that seemed to be like each separate step.
I'm not doing it. But I can get it. Oh, that's automatic. How are you? Trying to figure out all my technology here. Victor's not here, so
Good luck with that.
Oh,
Don't
look at
ask me.
that's about all we're gonna be able to look at today.
That's
So,
fine. Well, everybody should have it on their phones or iPads or something.
right.
I went online to find the map of the harbor and I can't find it.
It's right in our, it was part of our package.
No, I didn't get the packet.
Oh, that's right.
But as
Yeah.
far as
Right.
what's online,
No,
yeah, I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah. Oh, well, we can probably have Nick or Tina print one out. First week one, yes.
But the map,
The map,
Yeah,
the harbor map.
is there one on the agenda?
Yes, that's what I'm looking at right here.
I didn't get it.
Sure you want to get involved with this, Jeff?
Yeah.
Take your own stuff. I can take my own.
Yeah, I didn't even look there.
Work on it the other day. Yeah. But anyway,
How'd you?
in fact, I might have a copy right here.
If you want, I can forward my email to you and it's in there, but you gotta print out
I've got one
39
in the office,
pages.
John, if you.
No,
want
I,
this
oh, need the whole plan.
The whole
I've
plan.
got the plan on the website.
Oh, okay. It doesn't have-
I couldn't find the answer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
one. Can you find one in there?
Yeah, thank you.
How you doing?
All right. Either something. Middle of summer break.
Oh, no, not yet.
No, not yet.
I have to figure out where it is.
Now, does anybody else need a packet or are we all pretty good?
Well, I've got it on my phone. I walked off and left it.
No, you for Jim?
I'll take one.
For
I like to take notes on it.
Thank you. I only printed off 3, but I'm.
I don't normally, because I turned them off and walked off.
No, I got a baby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you cranked down Legal Street on your bike today? Yeah, that's pretty good. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a different story. Somebody ride it.
Back and wide, didn't
Right.
print everything out.
Well, I started to, but I said, I'm not gonna get 39 pages. I didn't have time for it.
My biggest issue right now is how weak my right leg is compared to my. I'm all out of whack right now.
That's from the bay, all right?
Look, you can sit anywhere you want.
Hey, has it
Covered, right?
No, well, no, that's
You're
a
lining up
second,
the parade.
yeah.
There's a guy here.
They canceled.
Maybe.
From 20 bucks
I
to
told you about
zero.
that.
20 votes to
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, so I'm hoping.
Nobody would
he
commit.
shows up.
I
I
would-
did tell you. Yeah.
Thank you. I would enjoy speaking.
How was regatta?
Yeah,
Awesome.
Great.
and we did have a
Went
chance
really
to
well.
talk about assignments or supposed to.
The name was Drake, wasn't it?
I'm not exactly sure.
I think so.
It was so quick that I saw it.
I'm Michael, how are you?
It's strange because I think his wife turned up 2 days later, 2 days after you and I spoke, as a client of my wife.
Oh, landscape architect? That's what his wife does. And she's got some clients up here. even though
Oh,
they're
my
still
gosh, I'm
downstate.
good here.
Yeah.
And she's some
You want it?
contracting.
I want it.
Some workouts.
That's it.
Old numbers. Old days.
No,
That's good. Good, how are you? Not bad for a grumpy old man. Lucky weather. Yeah.
That's my boy.
It might not even
How are you?
appreciate how it's gonna end.
Be careful what you wish for.
You have to go to marina and recreation. Icon, click there and there's all kinds of documents there.
You have Joel
Get
Smelly
there,
name, sir?
scroll down
Yes.
there.
Can't read it.
Well, I did that, I just, everything's so
How's your summer going?
okay.
Hectic is, it's damn near over, damn it.
I know, isn't that? It's a shame.
Yeah, good sound, except for slower.
Yeah.
Hey, JD, how you doing? How do some, you working it out?
Couple days. I'm working a couple days.
Or
5 or 6 hours each day.
Practice, yeah, boss.
State park. It's my fourth.
Oh, no, but I do area.
Very fun, my work. Ranger.
Do what? I
Someone always has a better idea. Someone always has a better idea.
Don't let them miss.
Taking over, right?
Some days I, yeah. So nobody else shows? He's ready?
He's had it. Okay, again, maybe I can find out more about that. I don't understand how it works. Excuse me, dear. Oh, okay, right. There's a lot of people going down this road.
Hey, Karen. I never got anything. And so I they sent me one this morning, so like.
Hey, Victor, I need Nick right now. Are we gonna need?
So I got
They just have to come out. Like, you got yours, I assume.
I'll go to pages.
Yeah, I wasn't starting
I
to figure
read
it out.
fast and all slow, but I don't think.
I know.
When I was cleaning out my files, I had to, they have a lot.
We'll get you, that's stuff, yeah.
See, that's what I need to, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, when was the last time that happened?
I'm looking at you.
Really? I was looking over here.
Well, yeah, there's the, that's the. Oh, this is good. Still have a minute, everybody can keep talking. We find the number.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
Good, Tom. You?
Looking up all right.
Everything good?
Oh, good, over there.
Any changes? No.
So, it's a little expensive.
Thank you.
We just need to go to review feet, so I did for it.
We started in Gladstone and then went to Curtis.
Total boats are the number of different vessels, and total boat days are the number of vessels times how long each one stay. They stay for 3 days, or 3 boat days.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we go up there.
Well, Baffin Island, those schools, they had 0 last year. They got, like, of course, everybody tried to.
Aren't they underwater?
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, they were underwater. I don't know.
Well, they had no. Okay, it is 4 o'clock. Let's call today's meeting of the Harbor Commission to order. Nick, could you roll call, please?
Yeah, Jeff James. Here. Terrence Joe Donnelly. Fred Rockwitz. Here. Tim Fletcher Rice. Here. Tom Graham.
Here.
Dick Schiller. Jim Bartlett.
Here.
Will McCullough. Here. Laura Coors. And Reagan. Here. We do have a quorum.
What's that background noise?
Yeah, can you hear that? It's this meeting, but it's
You're being
time
delayed.
Kyle, what are you doing back there?
I don't know. We already did that.
So that was you explaining to me about.
Yeah, that is.
You're
You did such a good job of roll. You had to do it twice.
No, we're good.
Start off YouTube, Nick? Done with that.
No, let's go.
First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our meeting last July 14th. Any corrections, comments?
I'll make a proposal with accept.
Your second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Same for opposed. Thanks you guys for putting that together. Any other items we need to add to the agenda today? Any commissioners? I'll take the approval of the agenda by consensus then. Thank you. Public comment, anything from the floor that's not related to anything on the agenda today? Like, hey, you guys are doing a great job and that kind of stuff. Thanks, Bill. I want to note it. No public comment, great, thank you. Thank you all for coming, hope you all sign. Old business, review draft language for commercial brainstorming As we noted, Victor is at another meeting today, so he is not here. The brainstorming, he did the work on this, but you can see the comments that go on the side panel that would kind of bring us into compliance as kind of are. And I'm looking for comment from commissioners to see if this makes sense to them.
I had a question, and it just may be that I'm confused, is that the date in screen number 1 is that we would approve, review and approve by the Harbor Commission in its June meetings, licenses to be granted, but they have to be paid for in 3/4 by June 1st of each year, and that doesn't seem to be consistent.
That's a good pick, and my comment echoes yours, and in addition, a June approval doesn't give an applicant time to really prepare for what he has to do. It should be done sooner, and I actually discussed with Victor that maybe we have a January, February meeting as a more regular deal, because we seem to have more business as time has gone on. That would allow us to do review of the licenses and give the applicant a timely response. So if that makes some sense.
Yes.
I've already covered that with him, and I'll say that the board lead by consensus, and some date in there might make some sense. Other comments?
Did I hear you say that we're adding an official every year by decree or whatever meeting, or just that we should have one when we have this sort of a thing?
I think when we have business like this, and I expected it would happen more yearly, that we would call a meeting as we have in the past and go from there.
Yeah.
So if we don't have licenses to approve, we don't have business, then I wouldn't make just get together, although I really enjoy seeing everybody. But I suspect we'll have business.
Just wanted to clarify.
So JB, does that mean that people that want to make a license is need to do it ahead of January?
I would think so.
Deadline week.
And folks who have the licenses now will be aware of that. And know at the end of the license session. And how we would go.
Maybe, do people who have a license now have to reapply every year?
Yes.
Okay, so you already expect to have to reapply at some time. What is, we do it right now?
It's
Whatever.
been very vague and it actually would be appreciated if you pick a date. Because there's many times that we apply to the city and the response is we're not ready for that yet, whether it's forms or whatever. And then, so it would be convenient if you pick a date and then you always have businesses apply. So you always have something to decide, whether it's January, February, or even October of the prior year when you do rates. It's all up to you. You need to know whether it's for the city as well as the applicants.
And I think that's what we're trying to do here. So. Any other comments on treatment suggestions in here? Hearing none, I'll sit down with him. Yes, Michael.
Will you accept comments? Sure. So a couple of things in the first paragraph, where it says, commercial businesses other than ferry boats, cruise ships, or charter boats that desire to use marina facilities for any purpose. And then it gives a couple of purposes which are probably outdated, whereas they're jet skis and wave runners, that was a thing years ago. And it doesn't say things such as paddleboard. So that sentence could probably be cleaned up because any purpose contradicts 3.2, which is limited to launching and retrieving.
I read that to be that the vessels that are licensed in section 3 will do so. For March. Okay. I think your comment about the jet skis and wave runners is probably important.
Really, that's
whatever we
covers
put
it.
in now in 5 years is going to be different anyway.
Mhm.
So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and then in that paragraph 3.2, vessel should be maybe plural vessels.
It's consistent with the other one.
And then if I may, 3.6 says, 3.5 deals with a suspension. 3.6 says an appeal of a suspension or revocation of a license may first be made to the Harbor Commission and then the City Council. For the applicant that potentially got suspended, that would be confusing. It either is or it isn't. Because the Harbor Commission could only make the recommendation.
So the word shall or something along those lines.
Well, it depends what you want the process to be.
That came from the fact that Harbor Commission is advisory. And they could go direct to council if they want to. It's this commission's vote. The council will bounce it back to the Harbor Commission for their comments. So there's no legal decision. Harbor Commission can make comments because they are only advisory. And I think this is setting it up so the applicant knows to come to us first, so they instead don't go to council and council bounces it back to us.
Then the word may should be changed to should.
Except that we don't have any legal authority. I think that's where the wording developed.
Because the council doesn't approve these licenses.
City manager does. He works for the council. Harbor Commission can't approve and can't deny. We can recommend both of those things. So anybody can take anything that they don't like in a harbor, go direct to council.
Okay.
The typical MO is if you go to council first, they bounce it to us, which actually takes longer than if you start.
Well, realistically, if someone were suspended for some reason, they have to wait till the second Wednesday of the month and then the council meeting, and that burns up a month. It would be a difficult situation, but hopefully you never run into it.
We haven't yet.
I
Shouldn't.
Jeff put it to change to should, because otherwise we're spinning somebody else's wheels and hopefully we won't have it, but they should come to us so that they don't get sent back and forth. It would be clear.
I really think this land is developed by the attorney based on the fact that we're an advisory board. And therefore, making somebody go to an advisory board that can't actually rule on the topic didn't make sense. So let me review that with them, but that's how my recollection is.
Should is not mandatory, shall would be mandatory, should is recommendation,
If we made it,
the definition.
then what's the difference between that and may as it reads right now?
Should in May, there's no.
That's what I'm saying.
Seems to me this should implies that this should happen first. And may doesn't really say.
Well, if this was an English class, we could have looked at this all afternoon. I know this language came from our attorney, and I think his logic I've explained. Let me review that with him, and if he feels that ought to be changed, we'll go from there.
It doesn't seem like it's a good time saver for whoever that person might be, but you might even put, should first be made to the Harbor Commission as an advisory board. Again, you're just kind of like Laura was saying, if you have to come to us every 2 months, then it goes to the city council and kick back, I could lose the whole thing.
Again, the guy who's gonna have to defend this is the city manager and the attorney. And that's where this language came from. Expressed with logic. So let me take that back to them with our comments.
The only question not related to that, it's under 3.5, the last sentence. Failure regulations will be grounds for immediate revocation and suspension of the license by the city manager, the chief of police, or harbor master. I'm just wondering if they're comfortable revocating somebody's license on this.
That actually goes back to how the city code is, because those three people are given the authority by its code. And whether they're comfortable with it's part of their job.
My first call would be to the guy behind me.
His first calls will be to the city manager. So, but if you read the city code, that's, you have that authority to do that, and so does the chief of police. So that's why it sticks to that.
Seems like a lot of responsibility. It is.
That's why we pay him the big bucks.
Well, the responsibility is to abide by the rules and regulations.
All right, I'll take these comments back to Victor, and then we'll have another after this, another meeting in October. That sound good, everybody?
Chief, and one more thing, are we gonna allow more than 2 commercial licenses? Because that was the original wording of the agreement.
Yes, and what did,
He struck that out.
yeah. If you
We
read
can
this,
restrict the number of allowed commercial licenses.
there isn't a number on there anymore, and it says that the city manager or his designee may issue such commercial licenses after review and approval by the Harbor Commission at its June meeting. So we're gonna have the opportunity to react to however many licenses, their applications there are, and how many of those applications we want to take. It takes away what was really brought this up, the fact that we had so many licenses for this and so many licenses for that. We were over in some and under in others. This takes that away. Gives us more flexibility, gives the city more flexibility.
Another question on the October meeting. So if we're going to determine the deadline by which commercial license interested people that need to apply, would that be determined in October? And then would we also determine criteria for that, or the criteria already exist? I'm just trying to look at when the deadline could be, in response to like Mike's comment earlier.
Criteria already exists. We would approve the language, that would go to council for approval on that, and then that sets the process, which gets the applicant from whatever the council approves it, which would likely be the third week in October. So I think we're giving them plenty of time. Anything else? That was a good discussion. Thanks. Harbor plan update. New business. As you've all heard, council has charged the commission with updating the 2003 edition of our harbor plan. This will be the third rendition of this plan. Last time, I think we did it about 20 years after the first one. I think the first one was 83, if I remember correctly. We had a consultant help us with developing this whole food plan. I think Babcock did most of the data gathering and some of the writing on it, city staff did some of it, and then we were there on it, went from there. I'm glad that this has been brought to us now so that we can hopefully get data done this summer, but we still have full harbor and boats are here and we can give an accurate count of traffic and that kind of stuff in the day. So our mission today is to, and you can see this in, I think there's a note here on it. I think is to get started with the collection and compiling of data. And then work with city staff to figure out how we want to assimilate that data into a plan. Once we have a draft, and we're going to be going into public hearings and public comment. If we get the data done yet this summer, that gives us the winter to work together to have public comment. I would think, and I'm interested in your comments, next summer while everybody is here, with the intended goal of having the plan approved by the end of this time meeting. Does that timetable seem reasonable to everybody? And Nick, does that seem about what you and Victor were talking about? Yeah. All right, good. And that matches what council was thinking? Good, thank you.
Do you think when we outline what the data means? Are we
Well-
talking- I mean, I see the number of votes, transient slips, et cetera, on what, was last 1 year? But are we also talking about launches?
Well, what's left on the table here is actually the harbor master's report of business. If I'm looking at this right, like last couple months.
Just transients.
Yeah, so this stuff doesn't apply to what we're at here. You can go online, this plan is on the city website, and you can see the type of data that we gathered in there. And I think that's what we're looking at. Gives us the number, the types, the use, the density of the vessels that are out in the water. That'll be interesting. 18 years ago, whatever it was. So we have a benchmark to go from, and I think we know what we need to get. The question is, if we're all in agreement on this timeline, then I think today we need to find someone, and I think council has charged us to do this, to actually do this. And I've been thinking quite a bit about this as time has gone on. And first person that came to mind was, and this is not, I'm trying to grease my neighbor, but John Baker. We need, I think we need somebody who's a voter, who knows the resort community, who knows the city, who has been here for a while, knows his way around, and is, has the resources and the ability to do this kind of stuff. So, and I'm interested in anybody else who has a name in this thing, but John popped into my mind right off the bat. I did talk to him about it. He is available. We'd like to move forward with it. And I think he'd do a fine job.
I think you'll get your driveway, free snowplow January, February.
I'm more worried he's gonna throw me out the door. Yes.
The only name I would throw out there, just because he did it before, I think that would be great, it's just bad thing. I don't know if he'd have interest, I'm just throwing another name.
Dick would be great. He did a wonderful job with us before. I expect if John does get this job, that those two will be communicating, which is another asset to me because they know each other well. He's in there for the next 2 months. He spends the summer.
Congratulations. I think that's a great nomination.
Totally agree with that. A nomination for that GP or is
Well, I think
the manager?
you need I don't know, you need a motion. If we agree by consensus, we're not hiring this person, the city's gonna do it.
Yeah, I think as far as this is just a recognition, but this council, I think like it's, what, obviously it would be a voice vote at the council level.
Does it need to go back to council or they've charged the city manager to do the work? So he would have the authority to hire an individual for recommendation.
Yes, as long as, it depends on how we're gonna work the contract, whether we wage type thing or contractual services. It just depends.
And that's something that the applicant and you and Victor can look out. So would it be fair at this table to say that by consensus, we would recommend that the city begin negotiation with John Baker to start him as soon as possible in the acclimation of data for our harbor plan revision, 2022 revision?
I think, JB, it would be nice for council to have our vote, so that it's not like, yeah, it was kind of like they liked him, but that we all voted just for him or something. Rather than,
I agree with that.
Well, yeah, but what if it's
But I mean-
5-4? See, this
Okay,
way they
yes,
think it's pretty good.
but I mean, that's sending a message to
I think
council.
that's,
All right.
I think that's her point.
Okay, yep, roll call vote.
Make a, like a speech or campaign speech or anything?
Hang on, we're doing a roll call vote.
Flicker Reagan,
Yes.
Laura Course,
Yes.
Bill McCullough, Jim
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Dick Schiller, Tom Graham,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Fletcher Rice, Mike Rockwitz, Carol Conley, and Jeff James. Yes.
Careful what you wish for, Paige.
And JB, I have one other thing. I think your timeline is ambitious. I think that if we wait till summer, which we should, for public comment doesn't come in and get processed in a month. It will take us some work to, so to say, this time next year will be done if we open it to the public in June or July. We need to hear them, listen to them, and revise based on what they have to say. And so I would not suggest we be done that fast. Maybe September, maybe whatever, and hopefully we are, but I guess we will.
It probably won't be August. I would hope it's next year.
Yeah.
I think
But
the
if we have
important
a
thing
time
is,
frame, at least has goals set.
Yeah, right. Okay.
yes,
Okay, Dan Mulder, Plymouth Street. Does this plan just address everything from the water out? Does it address, parks and harbor master building and that sort of stuff?
it never has in the past. It deals with the uses of vessels and people of the harbor. It deals with vistas from shore of the harbor. It deals with parking that supports, and restrooms that support the uses in the harbor. But it hasn't commented on what color anything else should be, or it's tried to stick to what the harbor has done with them.
I guess the reason I ask is we have a new park committee meeting coming up this next week. So just going with the timeframe for the, we're starting to process the survey results, and it's really interesting, so we'll need to bring back too. But restrooms was something that came up, and we had a brief conversation about would it be a separate building? We're starting to look at site planning for the park, and ideas we've had, is that something that you're welcome to have a little sketch drawn up of this is what it could look like.
The city's going through a master plan review also, I understand, in addition to the marine park stuff on that. And I think that one of the council, Mr. Liker, who wrote this up, is interested in collaborating as much as we can on that. This commission will do whatever we're asked to by council. But the focus of this plan in the past is not for us to become city planners, move north into town, but to try and deal with what happens on the water and support facilities that are needed. So we'll tackle whatever we're asked to tackle, but that is our focus. Yes.
I think also that something that ties into this is there's a plan in place to redo the Parks and Recreation plan. The overall with Rachel Boone, our new full-time Parks and Recreation. So master plan, harbor plan, and the Parks and Recreation all are going to intersect some, because they all butt up to each other. So I think I don't know exactly how that's all going to work, but I know that that's also in the Parks and Recreation.
From my perspective, it would be helpful from council if they gave each of those boards a clear directive as to what they would like them to do, so they didn't all go running off into the weeds in each other's backyards. For where I am right now, and I'm only one at this table, I think we'd like to stick with how this plan has worked in the past. And if there's other things that council would like us to look at to tie into this, then I think we'd be more than happy to tackle that.
Oh, I'm sure you would, I think right now they're just looking to get, and also at the data, to start to get it at this time.
And that's very
Thought that was
appropriate.
really important.
Good. Any other questions or comments? And John, or Victor, or Nick, when's Victor back?
Hopefully in the hour.
Well, I don't want to talk to him that soon, but maybe in the next day or so, John, if you and he and I and maybe Nick could sit down and or maybe you work with Victor first to figure out whatever arrangements you need to have in terms of payment with this, but then the three of us can sit down and talk about how you want to get this going.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll go for it. Yeah, welcome. You're going to be a great asset. Just looking forward to it. Okay. Regatta recap. I get, everybody get out on the water and have a chance to go play with that. That was actually great fun on Friday. Saturday, I think I spent as much time going up and down as I did forward. I bet they are. And then Sunday was, it seemed to go well from my perspective. Any comments from this table from anybody? I did have one comment. The Sunday's course actually had the boats coming from a point, a mark out in the bay, through the end of Harbor Point to finish at the harbor buoy. So all the boats had to skirt the east end of Harbor Point, of course, as close as they can because they're all fighting for position. And then they had to turn a little bit to the west to finish at the committee boat and the gauge buoy. Now, I happened to be at the end of the point when the 52s came through. And that was during the time when the J-70s and the Ilarians, and I forget whoever else was up there doing the side stuff.
Numbers 24.
The Elgins were just motoring back because their racing was done. So into the point comes a bunch of sailboats, some sailing, some motoring, all smaller, going at 5 and 6 knots. And coming in from a mark out in the bay, I don't know where it was, to the point where TP-52 is going at 12 knots, less than a boat length apart, 3 of them in a row. And it was chaos. I mean, I was very surprised that one J-70, I've got some video that will freak you out if you want to see it. One J-70 didn't get run over. So my recommendation to the yacht club is to review their courses. I think had they sent all those boats to Roaring Brookmark, which they customarily do, around that and then finish in the harbor, they wouldn't have had that problem. Having a finish course that sends everybody to the end of the point at the same time, whether they're racing or not racing. And there was people tubing, and there was people kayaking, you know, and in come these charging boats. I thought that was that could be better planned.
That was a very strange finish.
Because
I didn't notice that.
so would it be appropriate if I pass that comment along to the yacht club? Or am I overstepping our bounds? But our obligation is to try and make sure the harbor is as safe as it can be, while still accommodating the needs of the regatta. And they could have easily sent them to a buoy someplace else that would have finished in a more customary. Direct that. Why can't we?
Some of them were vocal guys from the TP-52 fleet, evidently they knew that what was, he works that
Did they, for the same reason?
the same reason.
You want
And some of
to,
the J-70 folks are the same.
we were scared to death. They never saw these guys coming. And I had 750 horsepower underneath me and they had a 2.5 horsepower electric motor. It was that was, yeah. Okay. Michael, Harbor Master update.
This will be a quick one, just like the last time around. The good news is that we continue to be steady traffic wise and we've been busy as a result of that. Unfortunately, the DAC group could not get their act together to commit 20 votes to the fleet. So we have one DAC vote in the top right now, the gal that organized the whole thing. But the other part of that is we have a full dock as of tomorrow night, which is to displace all those votes that could have come from DAC. So those numbers will be pretty much where we expected to be DAC. What else do we have? Regarding, we had 30 boats in the dock, which is 5 more than I expected. We had up to the 70s that were both wrapping outside. In the west dock, and then somebody wrapped them up the end of the east dock, and also somebody wrapped it around the corner of the east wall. So we saw quite a few boats with us. And Kyle can probably attest to this. We didn't see any problems in the docks. Didn't see any problems in town. I think everybody was really well behaved, which was anticipated. Well, usually things by now. So the numbers so far, we are less than $700 short of last year's numbers in the October 15th report last year. So we're looking at a pretty good season. We got $153,000 today, and we were $154 last season, so getting really close. A lot of that we can attribute to the fee increase we instituted this year. We're also seeing tremendous.
That's just transient revenue?
Just transient revenue, yeah, doesn't count the season, so. And also, along with that, we were charged at the June meeting to come up with some June and July numbers for neighboring marinas. I didn't go so far as to take the east side of the state really further south in Charlevoix, because I regard those guys, Warren City, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Mackinac is kind of our direct competitors. So with those numbers, I think they reflect a pretty good season for us. And also Katie was smart enough to ask me if we should include the number of transient slips that Petoskey has. They have 144 total slips, and 72 of those have been loaded at transients. We have 77 slips with 43 as available in transients. Charlevoix, this number's pretty weird. They said they only have 60 transient slips, but for some reason with the reservation system, they hold 20 for the reservation system. The other 40 are available to people to come out, which I hadn't heard of before. Must be working for them. The Mackinac Island's numbers are up from last year because they spent a tremendous amount of, I guess, picked up in the end after last season's inability to get to the Mackinac Islands. And if those numbers, I think we're having a pretty good season, judged by the number of transient boats we've seen. And also boat days. We can't compare with Petoskey given the number of transient slips that they have. But I think that 1,553 number is pretty good. Last year, that number was a little bit less than 1,350. So we're doing pretty well boat days wise.
Well, thanks for putting this info together. I think the thing we were looking for last month was the percentage of increase or decrease from June to June. Because last year we saw 256 boats in June. And this year we saw 224 registered boats. And I was just wondering if
I can come up with that July number for sure and include that.
you know,
Yeah.
and the number of boats that you were very wise to put together the boat days, because you could have fewer boats and more boat days and end up with more revenue.
Right.
But I was just curious if other marinas were had seen almost 10% reduction in the number of boats.
From what I got from the harbor master of Mackinac Island, they've seen probably a 22% increase, is the number they came up with.
Yeah, but they didn't have power last year,
Didn't have power last
so
year.
that's a bad number.
Yeah. Petoskey, they said they're pretty much steady with last year. Their big thing is they sold almost 10,000 gallons more fuel this year than they sold the same month last year.
Okay.
Charlevoix is pretty much even with last year, numbers wise, total boat numbers. So I don't know if those numbers.
So if everybody else was about even with last year, we were down a bit. Were our boat days up? Were the boat days about even?
Boat days are about even. Our boat days are probably, but they are even with last year. Yeah. The revenue increase we have to attribute to that increase.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. That's what I'm trying to ascertain. Is it, are we down in boats when everybody else is even? And where are we with boat days? Seems like we're down a little in boats. And everybody else is even with last year in boats. And we're up a touch on boat days, but everybody else is even in boat days.
Was that the information we got from the
Any other questions for Michael?
Where was gasoline at all? Right last year, where was gasoline, you said, possibly 10,000 higher.
Williams is in the same boat. They're being crushed for fuel sales over there. The gas dock is full all day long, 12 hours a day.
People are using their boats, that's good.
What we're hearing now is the big thing is, The reservation system continues to be a bugaboo for anybody that tries to get to any marina in the state right now. And seasonal slips are absolutely unavailable. So people are moving boats around looking for transient spots, and you can't get a transient spot anywhere. So it's kind of a catch-22. The boat's still so good last year, continued to be good this year, but now there's no boats to push.
That's the same system as the state parks. And all the state parks, it's showing that they're full. But over here, there's at least 15 sites available eating every day because people just don't show up.
Yep. So people pay for those sites, did right? But then they don't show, and then a guy who's there can't use it because that guy's paid for it. Which is why we
Same thing
didn't
happens.
use it.
It's even more, it's more complicated than that. I had a reservation on Echo Island. I canceled it 2 days ahead of time with a fee of $8. But their system's not possible to make it show that it was empty. So even though I had canceled and they have it available, it takes 3 days for it to get back into the system. So when they're looking for a reservation, and that's how they get all their empties. So, and a lot of people that I've talked to are making multiple ones because it's bad weather that way, I'm going that way, so they put it back in and Leland for $8, they're covered. But it doesn't show empty. It doesn't show empty on the state's reservation system for 3 days.
Also, if somebody's a no-show on the first day, they just don't call, they don't cancel. It's still held for them for that 24-hour period.
They have to pay full
Because
price
they're
for it.
charged for it,
Yeah.
right?
As an operator, you can't sell that slip to somebody trying to get it off the water, like dodging weather or whatever. it is. So, yeah.
These are all reasons why, we haven't gone into that reservation system. And why I think the numbers are interesting to try and determine whether that is helping us or hurting us or not affecting us. So. But I guess the takeaway is that system still isn't right. We certainly are seeing that.
Are we the only marina on this list that does not take reservations?
I honestly don't know.
Yes, yeah. The rest are all tied into the state reservation system, or use a modification of the state system that lets them fill slips day to day.
And we're going to help perhaps in another, so their own. Michigan marinas and stuff.
Michael, what do you hear from the public about reservation system?
They hate it.
You don't want to think about that answer?
No, it's as honest as I can be. They all say, well, we're so glad we got in here. How do you guys do this without a reservation system? I said, this is a system you tried to use to get somewhere else working. And go, no. So there you go. We don't like it. The big thing is that people, as Laura just said, they make itineraries. They think they're going to be in a certain spot. They're going to be traveling for 2 weeks. They're going to make a reservation, sport they think they're going to get to. And then you can't fill that space if you don't call and cancel. The farmers just kind of stuck to that empty slip. And $8 that's a slap in the wrist.
Right.
It's ridiculous to just get on the half. And that's a potential, if you've got a 70-footer, it's $115 that you're not going to see.
Well, even if you got paid for the slip, because that happens, as Laura pointed out, it still doesn't bring people into dinner to town, doesn't get folks to the movie theater, doesn't use the services of the marinas. That's what is frustrating in addition. Even if you get the money for the slip, the value of the customer in town doesn't get realized. So that's the challenge. So,
I even heard that from a guy that was with us this past week, who was on the Waterways Commission, Gary Morosky. And he's been trying to use a reservation system with people on. Just frustrated me unbelievable. He was the one that helped with the whole thing because of
yeah. Any other questions for Michael? Any other comments from harbor commissioners? And our next meeting is scheduled October 13th at 4 p.m. I believe we'll need one in September. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Anybody in favor? Has to leave. Say aye. Thank you very much, everybody. Anyways, consider it.
No, I just, you never know what you're watching. It's fine.
You make so
You
much
do know
this
what I
summer, you get a plow in the winter. If you make enough this summer, you can plow in the winter.
Kyle, I have a question. If watching where it goes, which is.
We plan to work with right here.
I do the same thing.
But as an observer, that is coming out. Because they're gonna be able to-
It is what it is.
It's beneficial.
Right.
Like a vote.
I really like Yeah.
Maybe not.
Last year I tried. On tickets. And you have cocktails and and they can't. And
It was fine.
they might have been covering. He came back and did another, the same guy, and tried again. Yeah, we'll see. We'll buy out pretty much anything.
Oh, yeah.
I talked to him for kind of the visual would be.
She's now living. She's dating when we have any Harvard, like new guys. So living down in the city, his parents. Yeah, she should be. Oh, yeah, I'd like to make sure you get a chance to just. I'll take a look at Philly versus. And Jim's gonna have another. He's working Wednesday, Sunday.
So, yeah. Very careful not to get everybody, because
Yeah.
not necessarily as part of this official thing.
Then I see
but
Luke down here.
now it's not a good time. I did a little.
Really?
Closed down my office. Last week. Yeah, I'm still taking care of some people. That too, but it. Well, the other day, I supposed to have them rolled out. not be, I've been taking care of it forever.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to happen like in June, and that's dragging out into God knows how long.
Big fan of
I thought you was.
You get to drain into the shower, water.
I don't think they used
This is all the site.
Dig out.
Oh, yeah.
criteria.
You go through the whole thing about alcohol.
Like Colorado.
Give. That's what we got here. This is where we're going.
Yeah, we have people. I want to. Can't add on.
Yeah. When you have questions, if you have questions, just have a call tomorrow or any day. I heard him complain about you, Steve. Uh-oh. Grabbing on the car driver, put it all the way.
No, I
Next year, we're gonna, I can't do it now. Next year, I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna put a couple of things out ahead of time. Because it's becoming a problem. Bicyclists, like, they just don't obey the laws at all. No, not that they're, and I don't wanna go out and hammer them, but I don't want anybody to get hurt.
No, it's a pain.
Yeah.
Never cycle, I know what they're.
You and me both. Well, the other day, where was I at? I might have been at State going this way at the stop sign. Scared me. And like, I'm the.
They go right back here.
Yeah, I'm the third car back. And it just.
That intersection right
Oh, yeah.
down there.
Yeah, no, so, no, you're correct, you're correct.
Who rang you a little bit?
No, you're right.
You're on top of it then.
But I can't like do it, I'm gonna try to be ahead of it next year with some like proactive stuff in the paper and just, try to get out the day, because I don't watch it. And a couple of tickets will go along, or a couple, maybe one piece or stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll be there.
My daughter, moved back to Michigan down to Page Township. Yeah, so I put her as a pin in my weather thing. They've been having severe lightning. We could get alerts every third day. We just got one today.
I never seen one for routers right at
And they charge whatever it costs to make it.
Flagpole. I went back to the flagpole. Right around the holiday. I really went this way.
Wow.
Set off my fire alarm, but I was
My house.
Yeah. And she said, no, it's one drive. And she said she could smell smoke. I think I was on. I don't know.
No.
And that storm today 2 days ago, I remember years ago, when I was flying into Harbor Airport, 9 guys used to fly. It was huge electrical storm. You could see it. Scrambling, get on the ground. And we saw the light hit the field where Jimmy and Lori Ford were between 6,000 lines.
And then you get to go out.
We got down before the storm hit the airport.
Wow.
And his wife, Esther, just got knocked off his, she was in a sewing machine, knocked right off his chair. And Sandy said, "Big puff of smoke from the electrical outlets and all." I think I up in the air, we saw the right between our two houses.
Glad you made it.
I'm doing okay.
Hey, how are you
Good
doing?
talk. No
Thanks,
complaints.
yeah.
This will be fun. Do you have a copy of this?
I looked at it online, but I don't have a picture. I mean, I can print one at home.
Yeah, gotta get one. Just,
You don't know,
I
man.
think we
I'm
can-
well, how are you
we can
doing?
talk-
Good, good to see you.
I looked at a lot of it today.
if you need
My
one.
wife's got that
I've got one of those.
after your liver.
Oh, I'll get, I need to see.
Everything else I need.
I don't know. Yeah, okay.